Picture this. You're standing in the middle of Times Square, surrounded by thousands of people rushing past you, their voices creating a symphony of human connection. Yet somehow, you feel like you're trapped inside an invisible glass box, watching life happen around you, but never truly being part of it. This is the modern paradox of loneliness, feeling completely isolated in a world that's more connected than ever before. We carry devices that can reach anyone, anywhere, at any moment, yet studies show that loneliness has reached epidemic levels, especially among young people. It's like being thirsty while standing in the middle of an ocean, surrounded by water, but none of it can actually quench your thirst. The first characteristic of this phenomenon lies in understanding what loneliness really is. Loneliness isn't about being physically alone. It's about feeling disconnected from meaningful relationships and authentic human experiences. Think of it like this. You could be at a party with 50 people, laughing at jokes and making small talk, but if nobody there truly knows the real you, if you're wearing a social mask that hides your authentic self, you'll walk away feeling emptier than when you arrived. This is because loneliness is fundamentally about the quality of our connections, not the quantity. It's the difference between having 100 acquaintances who know your favorite color versus having one friend who understands why certain songs make you cry. Our brains are literally wired for connection from the moment we're born. When a baby cries and their parent responds with comfort and care, neural pathways are being formed that teach us what connection feels like. These early experiences create what psychologists call our attachment style, essentially our internal blueprint for how relationships should work. If those early connections were secure and consistent, we develop a healthy expectation that people can be trusted and that we're worthy of love. But when those early connections are inconsistent, neglectful, or harmful, our brains learn to expect rejection or abandonment, even when it's not actually happening. The second characteristic involves recognizing how our digital age has fundamentally changed the nature of human connection. Social media platforms were designed to bring us together, but they often create what researchers call compare and despair cycles. When you scroll through Instagram and see everyone else's highlight reel, their perfect vacation photos, their seemingly effortless achievements, their romantic dinners, your brain automatically starts comparing your behind-the-scenes reality to their carefully curated public performance. It's like comparing your rough draft to someone else's final published work and wondering why your story doesn't look as polished. This constant comparison triggers feelings of inadequacy and social isolation, even when you're technically connected to hundreds of people online. What makes this even more complex is that many of us have forgotten how to be comfortable with solitude, which is completely different from loneliness. Solitude is chosen time alone that feels peaceful and rejuvenating, like taking a walk in nature or reading a book that makes you think. Loneliness is the painful feeling that you're isolated and disconnected, even when you might be surrounded by people. The difference is profound. Solitude nourishes your soul, while loneliness depletes it. Many people today are so afraid of being alone with their thoughts that they constantly seek external stimulation, scrolling through phones or binge-watching shows, but this external noise often prevents them from developing the internal relationship with themselves that makes genuine connections with others possible.
The third characteristic of modern loneliness is what psychologists call emotional suppression. We live in a society that often treats vulnerability like weakness and encourages us to present only our strongest, most successful selves to the world. But here's the thing: authentic connection requires authenticity, and authenticity requires vulnerability. When you share something real about yourself, your fears, your dreams, your struggles, you're essentially saying to another person, "This is who I really am, not just who I pretend to be." That vulnerability is scary, because it opens you up to the possibility of rejection, but it's also the only way to create the kind of deep, meaningful connections that actually cure loneliness. Think about the last time you felt truly seen and understood by another person. I'm willing to bet it wasn't when you were discussing the weather or sharing surface-level achievements. It was probably when you shared something vulnerable and they responded with empathy and acceptance, or when they shared something vulnerable with you and you were able to offer the same kind of understanding. These moments of mutual vulnerability are like bridges that connect two isolated islands. Suddenly, you're not alone anymore because someone else truly understands your experience. The fourth characteristic involves understanding how perfectionism contributes to loneliness. Many people, especially young people, have internalized the message that they need to be perfect to be worthy of love and connection. This perfectionism creates what I like to call imposter syndrome in relationships. The fear that if people knew who you really were, with all your flaws and struggles and messy emotions, they would reject you. So you maintain a perfect facade, never letting anyone see the real you, and then you wonder why you feel so alone. It's like wearing a beautiful mask to every social interaction. People might admire the mask, but they never get to know the person underneath it. This perfectionism is often rooted in shame, which is the toxic belief that something is fundamentally wrong with who you are. Shame is different from guilt. Guilt says, I did something bad, while shame says, I am something bad. When you carry shame, you automatically assume that your authentic self is somehow defective or unworthy of love. So you try to hide parts of yourself that you think might be rejected. But when you hide your authentic self, you prevent others from actually connecting with the real you, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy of loneliness. The fifth characteristic is recognizing how our fast-paced, achievement-oriented culture has made us forget the art of simply being present with each other. Think about the last time you had a conversation where both people put their phones away, made eye contact, and really listened to each other without thinking about what they were going to say next. These moments are becoming increasingly rare, but they're essential for creating the kind of connection that alleviates loneliness. Being present with someone is like giving them the gift of your undivided attention. It says, you matter enough for me to stop everything else and focus completely on you right now.
I want to pause here and thank everyone who clicked on this video and decided to spend some time with me today exploring this important topic. The fact that you're here, learning about loneliness and connection, tells me that you care about understanding yourself and possibly others better, and that's beautiful. Your presence here matters, and I hope you're finding something valuable in these insights that we can take with us as we continue this conversation. Many people struggle with what psychologists call social anxiety, which can make connecting with others feel overwhelming or impossible. Social anxiety isn't just being shy, it's an intense fear of being judged, rejected, or humiliated in social situations. When you have social anxiety, every interaction feels like a performance where you might mess up and face terrible consequences. It's like being an actor who forgot their lines and is terrified the audience will notice. This anxiety creates a vicious cycle. You avoid social situations because they feel scary, but then you miss opportunities to develop social skills and form connections, which makes future social situations feel even scarier. The sixth characteristic involves understanding how trauma and past hurt can create walls around our hearts that keep others at a distance. When someone has been betrayed, abandoned, or hurt by people they trusted, their brain develops protective mechanisms to prevent future pain.
These protective mechanisms made perfect sense in the context where they developed. If trusting people led to pain, then not trusting people helps you avoid pain. But these protective walls, while they keep out potential hurt, also keep out potential love and connection. It's like building a fort to protect yourself from enemy arrows, but then realizing the fort also keeps out friends who want to visit. Healing from these past wounds doesn't mean pretending they never happened or immediately trusting everyone you meet. It means learning to distinguish between past pain and present reality, developing the ability to assess whether someone is actually trustworthy or if you're just projecting past experiences onto current situations. This process takes time and often benefits from professional support, but it's absolutely possible to learn to open your heart again while still protecting yourself wisely. Another crucial aspect of modern loneliness is what researchers call time poverty, the feeling that we're always rushing from one obligation to another without ever having enough time for the relationships that matter most. We've created a culture where being busy is seen as a badge of honor, where people brag about how little sleep they got or how packed their schedule is. But relationships require time and attention to flourish, just like plants need water and sunlight. When we're constantly rushing, we miss opportunities for the spontaneous conversations and shared experiences that build deep connections.
The seventh and final characteristic is perhaps the most hopeful. Understanding that loneliness is not a permanent condition, but a signal that our human need for connection isn't being met. Just like hunger signals that your body needs food, loneliness signals that your soul needs connection. This reframing is powerful because it shifts loneliness from being something wrong with you to being important information about what you need. When you feel lonely, instead of judging yourself for feeling that way, you can ask yourself, what kind of connection am I craving right now? And how can I take a small step toward meeting that need? Sometimes the answer might be reaching out to an old friend you haven't talked to in a while. Sometimes it might be joining a club or group where you can meet people who share your interests. Sometimes it might be having a deeper conversation with someone you already know but have only talked to superficially. And sometimes it might be spending time developing a better relationship with yourself through journaling, meditation, or creative expression. The beautiful thing about recognizing loneliness as a signal is that it empowers you to take action rather than just suffering in silence. One of the most powerful antidotes to loneliness is what psychologists call emotional granularity, the ability to identify and articulate specific emotions rather than just saying, "I feel bad." When you can say, "I feel disconnected because I haven't had a meaningful conversation in weeks," or "I feel invisible because no one seems to notice my efforts," you're giving yourself valuable information about what kind of connection you need. It's like being able to tell the difference between being hungry for protein versus being hungry for something sweet. The more specific you can be about what you need, the more likely you are to find something that actually satisfies that need. Building genuine connections often starts with small acts of courage. Maybe it's sharing something slightly more personal than you usually would in a conversation. Maybe it's asking someone how they're really doing, and then actually listening to their answer. Maybe it's admitting when you don't know something, or when you're struggling with something, allowing others to see your humanity. These small acts of authenticity are like seeds that can grow into deeper relationships over time. It's also important to recognize that not every person you meet will become a close friend, and that's completely normal and okay. Some people might be wonderful acquaintances, others might be activity partners, and a precious few might become the kind of friends who know your soul. Each type of relationship has value, and expecting every connection to be deeply meaningful can actually prevent you from appreciating the different ways people can enrich your life. It's like having a garden with different types of plants. They all serve different purposes and bring different kinds of beauty to your life.
One thing that might surprise you is that helping others can be one of the most effective ways to combat your own loneliness. When you volunteer, mentor someone, or simply offer support to a friend who's going through a hard time, you're reminded of your own value and your ability to make a positive difference in someone else's life. This sense of purpose and contribution can create a different kind of connection, not just to other people, but to something larger than yourself. And here's where I'm going to ask you for something too. If this video has been helpful to you, if you found some insight or comfort in these words, would you mind hitting that like button? It's a small way to help this message reach other people who might be feeling alone and could benefit from hearing that they're not the only ones experiencing this very human struggle. Learning to be comfortable with yourself is also crucial for building connections with others. When you genuinely enjoy your own company, when you have hobbies and interests that fulfill you, when you've developed a kind inner voice that supports you through challenges, you bring a different energy to your relationships. You're not desperately seeking others to fill a void or complete you. Instead, you're sharing the fullness of who you are with others who are doing the same. This creates much healthier, more balanced relationships where both people can be authentic without fear of being abandoned if they don't meet all of each other's needs. Sometimes loneliness persists even when we're making efforts to connect, and that's when it might be helpful to seek professional support. Therapists and counselors are trained to help people understand the root causes of their loneliness and develop strategies for building healthier relationships. There's no shame in getting help with relationships. We wouldn't hesitate to see a doctor if we broke our leg, so why should we hesitate to get help when our emotional well-being needs attention? Mental health professionals can help you identify patterns that might be keeping you stuck and provide tools for creating the connections you crave. One of the most liberating realizations you can have is that everyone feels lonely sometimes, even people who seem incredibly popular or successful. Loneliness is part of the human experience. It's not a personal failing or a sign that something is wrong with you. Even people with large social circles have moments when they feel misunderstood or disconnected. Recognizing this can help reduce the shame that often accompanies loneliness and make it easier to reach out for support when you need it. We're all just humans trying to figure out how to connect with other humans in a world that often makes that challenging. The journey from loneliness to connection isn't always linear, and that's okay. Some days you might feel more connected and confident, while other days the loneliness might feel overwhelming again. This is normal. Healing and growth happen in waves, not straight lines. What matters is that you keep showing up, keep being open to connection, and keep treating yourself with compassion during the difficult moments. Every small step toward authenticity and connection matters, even if it doesn't feel like much at the time.
As we wrap up this exploration of loneliness in our connected world, I want you to remember that feeling alone doesn't mean you are alone. There are millions of people who share this experience, who understand the ache of feeling disconnected in a crowded world. Your loneliness is valid. Your need for connection is natural and healthy. And there are people out there who would genuinely appreciate getting to know the real you. The path from loneliness to connection requires courage, patience, and self-compassion, but it's absolutely possible. You have the capacity to create meaningful relationships, to be truly seen and valued by others, and to offer that same gift of genuine connection to the people in your life. If this video resonated with you, I'd love it if you gave it a like. It really helps other people who might be feeling alone find this message. And if you think someone in your life could benefit from hearing that they're not alone in feeling lonely sometimes, please share this with them. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is remind each other that these difficult human experiences are actually quite common and that we don't have to face them alone. If you've made it this far with me and you feel moved to do so, write "Lighthouse" in the comments, because that's what we can be for each other, guiding lights in the darkness, helping each other find our way to shore.
There's another video appearing on your screen now that dives deeper into building authentic connections. And if you found value in this conversation, you might want to consider subscribing to the Not What It Seems channel for more content that explores the beautiful complexity of being human in our modern world.